really the most important strategy,
Mm-hmm.
getting involved in the school systems and reforming school, and
Yeah.
specifically bringing kids back to Christian education.
Yeah.
Because we know the schools are a disaster. Like, I don't care what people say.
Yes,
I'm
they
going
are.
to tell you straight up, if you are a Christian and you have your kids in public school, there is no justifiable reason right now to have your kids in the public school system.
When you're talking, it sounds like you're a modern day Nehemiah who's rebuilding the walls that were broken. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another podcast with Ignite Fire. We have an amazing guest today, Jeremy Wood. We're going to be talking a little bit about what's going on with our children and how to keep them safe and how to keep them educated in our society. I want to thank you guys for joining us. My name's Jacob, and this is Ignite Fire. Thank you, Jeremy, for coming today and jumping on the pod. I'm interested to hear your story. I'm excited to hear what you have to say when it comes to protecting our kids and educating our kids. And you really have a passion here in Arizona. And I'm going to have a link, guys, in the description of all the information to the school system and the business information that you guys have.
Yeah, thanks, Jacob. Yeah, so appreciate you having me on.
Yeah,
What we're really passionate about right now is affecting change, specifically focused on the school system. So we were birthed out of a movement in 2020 during the shutdowns, and really just felt like it was unconstitutional.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They're shutting down churches. 100%. Churches and schools and businesses are being shut down, and we just decided that we needed to stand up and do something about it.
That's awesome. We need more people coming together that believe that, and we need to protect ourselves and our rights. I believe
100%.
we actually started in 2022 when the churches shut down.
Wow.
We're like, you know what? We're gonna go to the park. We're gonna worship. And it's the resurrection of Jesus Christ. We're not gonna stand by and not come together,
Amen.
And
Yep.
I remember I was saying that people were so scared, and I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah.
I'm like, where? And my thought was, where is your faith? It was like that moment when Jesus was in the boat and the storm was going crazy and he was sleeping. And the disciples came up to him and we're going to die. We're going to die.
Yeah.
After he speaks to the storm, he looks at him and says, where's your faith?
Yeah.
There's going to be storms in life, but we have a firm foundation. So tell me, how did the whole school system start that you guys put together?
Well, it's not a whole school system yet, but it's we started it's a Christian constitutional conservative private school that, again, we started in response to the shutdowns, we really felt like the enemy, both politically and spiritually, was really out to attack the nuclear family, specifically going after kids, the next generation, and indoctrinating them and ultimately trying to destroy their hearts and minds.
Yeah.
And so we were lucky enough to be able to pull our kids out of school when all this craziness started. My wife was formerly an educator.
Oh, okay.
And so we just started homeschooling, but we realized that not everyone really had that luxury.
Yeah, yeah.
And so we saw what was happening, to families and people that are, middle class or primarily dual working households. And they didn't have a solution when their kids were sent home with a laptop to do Zoom school. What the heck are they going to do? Their kids were left unsupervised, or they're dragging their kids to work, or they have to take off work to go home. And so this whole kind of, I believe it was a strategy, applied a tremendous amount of pressure on the family and on these kids. And then, of course, if you guys have heard, or any of the research, domestic violence shot through the roof, teen suicide, depression, prescription drug use, non-prescription drug use. Things just started really pressing in on the family.
Now tell me, have you guys experienced any pressure for doing something like you're doing?
Oh boy. Yeah. Honestly, 2020, we were right at the front line. We were the ones who were either planning or promoting kind of all those early year protests, directly in
Yeah,
response.
yeah.
So April, May, like right when things were going down, they originally shut down. We were kind of the Christian group of actually started. It was more like business owners who were the core of the people who started, small business owners.
Oh, okay.
A bunch of friends and associates of mine. We just kind of said, hey, we're going to do something about it. So we didn't know really what we were going to do, but we started a Facebook group.
Oh, dang. Okay, what's the
Yep.
Facebook group?
It was called Great 48.
Okay.
So, and it kind of blew up and went crazy. So we got to almost 40,000 people in about 30 days.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, up until Facebook totally throttled us, and we were.
They shut you down?
Oh yeah, well we were one of the early groups that they were saying, hey, based on community standards and the things that you're dialoguing about, we're getting ready to shut you down.
Yeah.
So we kept pressing, but
Those are the fact checkers that are coming from Harvard that Facebook
yeah.
is hiring.
yeah, and the bots,
Yeah.
It was crazy, but yeah, and then we just decided to host a rally. So we hosted a rally down at the Capitol, and it was it was May 3rd of 2020, and we had it was 3,000-4,000 people down there. It was one of the biggest kind of organic groups of the people coming together.
Yeah.
And but the whole message was where does freedom come from? Because we're all believers.
Yeah.
Who started the movement, and we were just really we were trying to utilize the platform to turn people's hearts back towards Jesus. So the message has always been the gospel and repentance, and really, like, my heart in the whole thing was that we, really myself, I had to repent myself, because I feel like I had been standing on the sideline and really watching some stuff go on that I was conscious and aware of, like politically, things that were happening in the school systems, and just ultimately as a believer in Christ, wasn't really doing much about it. I wasn't showing up to council meetings. I wasn't involved in my legislative districts and trying to watchdog our representatives or communicate with them. I wasn't at school board meetings. I wasn't, involved in curriculum reviews. I wasn't, now we were heavily involved in our own kids' lives to make sure that they weren't getting that crap. But we, honestly, we just weren't really, we weren't really doing anything.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was my conviction. Was I felt like I needed to stand up and use whatever influence or gifts or resources God gave me to do something about what was going on.
Yeah.
And early on, I just sensed and discerned, and I think a bunch of other people did too, that this thing was just a politicized event and a strategy to one, hijack the election and get people all divided. And so we felt like, on the big picture, that if you're going to shut down businesses and schools and churches and stuff like that, that there's going to be a long-term ripple effect, which we're just now really seeing right now.
Oh yeah. No, there really is, and when you're talking, it sounds like you're a modern day Nehemiah who's rebuilding the walls that were broken.
Yeah, that's funny you say that, because a few years back we kind of got that word.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, we did. It was just kind of like, hey, the walls have been torn down.
Oh yeah.
And we were, ironically, I'm a tradesman, or a general contractor by trade. Have been for just under 20 years, and so a builder, and really, this whole movement and organization, at least that we built, has been primarily built by middle-class people, small business owners. A lot of contractors and tradespeople have literally helped us to build our school. So there's a story behind kind of how we got there, but God has been using a lot of different people to help contribute to the rebuilding, the figurative rebuilding of walls.
Yeah.
And it's been kind of a cool thing, and we actually think that what we're doing is really the most important strategy. Getting involved in the school systems and reforming school, and specifically bringing kids back to Christian education.
Yeah.
Because we know the schools are a disaster. Like, I don't care what people say.
Yes,
I'm going to tell you straight up, if you are a Christian and you have your kids in public school, there is no justifiable reason right now to have your kids in the public school system.
So what's the first steps for a family that does have their kids in the public school system, and what's the first steps to get them out and protect them and get them into somewhere that they can get their real education and be safe?
Well, it's easier now than ever, because in this past November, some legislation was passed here in Arizona that provided what's called ESA funding. So it's like an empowerment scholarship account, which originally was provided primarily to students that are, children with disabilities,
Okay.
or children of active military, and there's a couple other, criterion, but it was limited. But now this bill that was passed provides this funding universally, so all students, basically ages K through 12, ages 5 through 18 qualify for this basically this funding to be able to put their kids in private school.
Oh, wow.
Or they can use the money for homeschooling as well.
Okay.
So
is there information that you can give us that we can put in the description?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay,
Yeah, there's a great resource out there to learn more about the ESA. But essentially now the first thing you can do, one, is just do a little bit of research on the ESA money. So, people don't know it, and our liberal governor and all of her friends are not going to let people know that this funding is out there because they don't want you pulling your kids out of public schools.
Yeah.
One, it's, that's their number one way to receive really their own funding. The public school systems, a lot of people don't know this, but it's a large money funnel. And they're routing all these finances through liberal unions and liberal nonprofit organizations, and then they're kind of routing them through shell corporations to directly to liberal campaigns.
Okay.
So it's and I didn't know any of this before we started getting active.
So they've weaponized the school system.
100%. I mean, besides the ideological, indoctrination of our kids, they're also using them to take state money and then funnel it, through different channels to utilize that to really to kind of choke us out. And this is taxpayer dollars, right? That we we need higher accountability with that as well. Like where's that money going? Because I don't know the exact statistic, but there's, it's a very small percentage of money makes it down to the actual teacher in the classroom.
Wow. Okay.
And they're sitting on tons of money. They always act, every 2 to 4 years when they're running these ballot propositions, and they're using the kids, Red for Ed, which mind you is a liberal union backed organization.
Man.
Oh, they're the worst, man. And they got everyone convinced, that the latest one is Save Our Schools, and they use all this marketing psychology, to make people think that they're for the kids and they're for the schools, but all they want to do is maintain control of that money.
Sounds like a demonic deception.
Oh, 100%
is what it is.
The school systems are 100% ruled by Lucifer himself. And
for those who don't know who Lucifer is, that's Satan.
Yeah. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah. So that's what we say. The school system is Luciferian, and that's just a kind of a big word for saying it's an evil domain, and it is, to me, it's not broke. It's not fixable. It's gone. It's dead.
Yeah.
And
it needs to be it needs to be thrown out, and we need to start fresh, like what you guys are doing.
100%. And this is one way that we can provide really strategic competition, I think, because as of 2020, I believe there was only about 180, just about 120, I believe it was, private schools, not just Christian schools, just private schools in Arizona. And so the idea is that we should have 10 times that to create more competition. And, really, figuratively, I believe the public school system needs to burn to the ground and be rebuilt.
No, I'm with you. Yeah. I'm with you.
and I want to just a word to fellow believers, Christians out there, please don't receive this in judgment. But I'm telling you right now, your kids are not safe in the public school system.
Yeah.
And when I say that the public school systems are dead and gone, this whole idea of your kid being a light, in a dark place, that you want your kids to be in the world but not of the world.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm telling you, the whole idea of going to school is in getting an education is that your kids, they don't understand. They need formed. They need development.
Yeah.
And they need to learn. And we're sending them to learn with these teachers who have a direct agenda.
Oh, yeah.
To indoctrinate them towards Marxism, socialism, communism, Luciferianism, and we're just like, oh, we want to send our kids to be a light,
yeah,
onward Christian soldiers. It's like, no,
yeah.
education, what people don't realize, at least Christians, we don't articulate it this way. Education is discipleship.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That's what it is.
It really is.
You would never say, hey, I'm going to send my kids to the public schools to be discipled.
But that's what's happening.
But that's what's happening.
Well, it reminds me too of when Babylon took over the Hebrew people, right?
Yeah, they took all the smart kids and boys.
And they did. And what's interesting, if you think of, Nebuchadnezzar with Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego, and Daniel, that's only 4 out of a whole nation.
Oh, yeah.
That stood against the whole empire of the Babylonian, they were the resistance.
Yes.
And everyone else, regardless if they were Hebrews or not, fell under that governmental rule and they bowed down to it.
Yeah, they complied.
And if you're sending your kids to the system that's their influence from everywhere, their teachers and everybody, their little light is going to diminish.
Oh, yeah.
And it's going to be a small percentage of kids that are really going to be like a Daniel, Meshach, Shadrach, or Abednego that stand against the system, unless you're really, really protecting them and training them up.
Well, here's an kind of a relative statistic is that when your children, this is for Christian church attending believers, if you're sending your kids to public school system, they're getting 1,000+ hours of teaching, indoctrination, or influence from the public school system.
Oh, man.
1,000+. Now, here's the big thing. In relationship, in comparison to if they are attending church regularly, and so
it still doesn't compare.
Well, it's 100 hours or less.
Wow.
So, because if you think about church attendance right now, they say like your average churchgoers are going only 50% of the time if they are, church attenders. And so as you look at like youth groups, or if they're, in some, Bible study, or if they're in some sort of, intentional discipleship, they're going to get 100 or less hours of biblical teaching and quote indoctrination from the church, and they're getting 1,000+ hours in the public school systems.
Well, and then I just read not too long ago that the average American will not only watch TV or be on their phone anywhere from 3 to 6 hours a day.
Oh yeah,
or more.
Yeah.
But the average is around 3 to 6 hours a day. And I always say whatever is influencing you is really subconsciously taking spot in your mind, and it's
100%.
it's changing your filter on how you see the world.
Yeah,
and the algorithm is really the one leading people.
Oh yeah, no, they're good at it, man. What they're they're good at drawing out those addictive tendencies to want to go back and check notifications and then things you are interested in, that you watch. They're popping up everywhere. And the main thing is the time, right? It's like, what are you putting into your mind and your heart? Because that is what is influencing your soul and your spirit.
Absolutely.
And, so besides what's going on, the 1,000+ hours in school, there's another 3 to 6 hours a day.
Oh yeah.
And so we're
that adds up real quick.
It does. And we're big on that. Like, honestly, our school, we're a no device school.
Oh, nice.
And that's, we don't let kids even bring cell phones to school.
Oh, okay.
So, they do have access to technology, but it's supervised, for projects and working on Chromebooks. But, we believe what you said, which is, these devices and the kids are glued in, man. And the messaging that's out there right now is heavily controlled.
Oh yeah,
and there's a strategy behind it, and so.
Well, you even see some of this stuff with, if you're a Disney fan, I'm sorry, but you see some of this stuff that Disney's revealing. They've been doing it since it started, like all these little subliminal messages that are in their content. There was a show that Joe Rogan did. I don't know if you saw it, but he's sitting down with a comedian, and the comedian's telling him about one of the clips from Pinocchio. It's out of control.
Oh, about the little boys going to Pleasure Island?
Yes, and he's whispering, and he's like, what about the police? What about the police? And he's like, oh, don't worry, they don't come back as boys. Yeah. I'm like, what the heck?
That's wicked.
Oh my gosh. And
that's everywhere. Once you start looking, and once you're aware, and once you're willing to admit to yourself.
Yes.
Like, I'm telling you what, like, this isn't like Bobby Boucher's mama. Like, everything's the devil.
No.
Because everything ain't the devil. But I will tell you, Disney and some of these things, they have been strategically grooming kids and desensitizing them to the occult. to sexualization, and it's right there.
This
It's right there.
this will be good if your audience is watching this. Something from Disney, but I think it's a plan that was revealed in one of their movies.
Okay,
So Hocus Pocus.
I have not seen it.
It's these three witches that come back from the dead, and they're after these kids, right?
Okay,
And so it's on Halloween. All the parents on Halloween are at the school, and they're in the gymnasium having a party.
okay,
The kids run to there's a scene where the kids run to the auditorium where all the parents are, where they're having a good time and they're just playing music and they're all in their costumes. Well, they're trying to get away from these witches. The three witches get on stage. They start singing the song like a performance. And they're singing, "I Put a Spell on You."
okay,
And as they're singing the song, a spell comes on all the parents. And then all of a sudden, the parents get trapped in the school auditorium in this comatose state. And then now the witches are able to go after the children.
wow,
And it just it hit me like it's not just Disney. This is the plan of the enemy
yeah,
to pacify and to distract the parents so that they can go after the kids.
yeah. Well, you mentioned that word pacify. I
Yeah.
think that's a big part of it, right?
Oh yeah. Oh
Is
yeah.
that when parents get so passive that, it's not just that we're sending our kids to public school system. It's like we're not even checking in. Like we don't even know what they're learning in the classroom. So not only have we abdicated our responsibility for discipling and educating our children to the government,
Yeah.
but when they are there, we don't even know what the heck is going on and what's being taught.
That's true. That's
And
true.
and actually, I think that is the blessing of the COVID shutdown. And this is kind of where, what the devil planned for destruction, the Lord is using for his purposes
yeah.
to awaken people, is that you send the kids home, they flip open their laptops and they're on Zoom school. And now all of a sudden parents are able to hear,
They're like, "What did you?
yeah,
what are you learning?"
saying to my kids? What are you, know?
Yeah.
And so parents got this unique window into what their kids were being taught. And honestly, that's what sparked the fire to start, getting people to leave the school system. Parents that heard this stuff are just like, no, my kids aren't going back,
So let me ask you this: since you guys are a Christian school and you're really doing an awesome work, I'm really interested more on what you guys are doing and how I can get involved too. So thank you for coming on this show.
For sure.
I would like to know how is it that you guys are protecting yourselves against the school system is teaching transgenderism, they're teaching all this crazy stuff. How do you guys protect yourselves from the infiltration of the government coming in and messing with that?
Well, one, we're a religious institution. So, that affords us the constitutional protection of the First Amendment. Most people don't want to understand their constitutional rights. So most churches, or actually all churches and Christian schools, did not have to shut down.
Yeah. Okay.
They did not have to legally. But they were convinced, that they needed to. So we're kind of, we have a legal shroud that protects us because so we're technically legally a church, like a religious order, classified as a religious order.
Yeah.
So that helps us, and protects us legally. Of course, we have been under attack from the beginning.
Like legally and all the backlash? Is there?
Well, we've had some, there's some stories that I won't get into the details, but we've had some stories of infiltration. We've had some stuff with the media where they've, tried to, do stories or spin stories or get us in,
the fake news.
Yeah, fake news or bait us into, getting into, public fights with other people that are really, on our team.
Yeah.
Other Christian schools, So, and this is like local media outlets that are trying to bait me into interviewing. And so really part of the protection, I believe, one is prayer that has led to some discernment and wisdom to just not even get involved with some of that stuff.
Yeah.
So part of our strategy is that we've kind of just laid low.
Yeah. Well, because I know we were doing an event at Arizona Christian University, and we were sitting down with all the pastors and the main school pastor, and it was right in the beginning of the Washington school district thing.
Yeah.
And they were talking about that, and they were asking for prayer and support from the other pastors, and it was just interesting that even like that university was being under attack that way.
100%. Yeah.
And so and it's interesting how the school system I mean, you see some of these people that are sitting on the boards and you're like, what the heck is
Oh yeah.
they have mental health issues,
Yeah.
and for those who are our audience know, I always say these guys are demon possessed, and if they're thinking they're an animal, and they're getting up and that's how they identify as an animal, something's wrong. Something's wrong.
Oh yeah, we've gotten far away from what we would consider a traditional normatives. And now it's insane, and now it's totally overt. And they're trying to ram it really down our throats. But I think it's because they've when I say they, that the enemy, the liberal left, the progressives, they have invaded the specifically the school systems through the boards, and that's another key strategy how we can protect our kids is even though I believe Christian kids need to be pulled out, really all kids need to be pulled out, but Christian parents can help to advocate for the current public school system by being engaged in their school board meetings, running for for office. We need some God-fearing, Holy Spirit-filled people.
Yes.
That are on those boards, and we are seeing some success over the past couple years. We've seen a lot of activity in the school boards, conservative Christians that are getting engaged. So there is some positive movement.
Yeah.
As much as it seems doom and gloom and bleak, that there is some grassroots things happening. God is reforming, I think, from the ground up, and then there's being some, at minimum, darkness is being exposed.
Right. And that's really half the battle. Once it's exposed, it's like it's you can't really pretend it's not there anymore.
Yeah, and that's happening, right? And we're seeing people that now are responding to that.
Yeah,
and it comes in waves, right? So it seems like people are still holding out hope that, it's not that bad. And I think that, it's going to change. And it seems like every 6 months to a year, people are realizing that it is that bad.
Yeah.
And they're finally, so we're praying and pushing really all of our energy and efforts is to try to pour fuel on the public school exit movement.
Yeah.
And because we feel like, one, it's been the enemy's strategy for, 100 plus years to infiltrate the school system and really, indoctrinate each next generation.
Yeah.
Right. And so now what we see as a result is, you have this, the latest generation. I don't even know what they're calling them now. Z? What's after Z?
I
can't keep up with them. It's like every 5 years there's a new micro generation or something.
Yeah.
But what we saw in 2020 was this insanity of, you got 18 to 25-year-olds that are kicking down the doors and the glass at Scottsdale Fashion Square Mall.
Yeah.
And what's crazy about it is it wasn't in New Orleans. It wasn't in LA. This was like in our back door.
Yeah.
Scottsdale, Arizona, and some areas around here, we saw some of this ideology manifest itself out, demonic, but manifest itself out. And this is, they've been turning our children against us, against God, family, and country for years. And then they know how to psychologically, trigger, apply emotional pressure, get people amped up emotionally, create a tremendous amount of division. And that's the danger of social media, my opinion right there.
Oh yeah.
Is that they're just fostering all this negativity and all this, everything is just doom and gloom and everything is going to be, insane. And it literally drives people insane.
Yeah.
And they react.
I think there's a win too for Kansas, and I don't know if you heard about it. I don't know if you heard about they passed the anti-transgender stuff.
Okay,
and
I didn't hear about the one in Kansas.
Yeah, so they're saying that that only biological women can use the restrooms.
Yeah,
and that's a win. And
it's crazy that that's a win.
Yeah.
I mean, what world are we in now that that's a win? I mean, but man.
Well, and here in Arizona, my son's in high school. It's his last year, and he was saying he walked into the men's bathroom. There was a girl in there, and it's like, holy moly, we need to wake up, and it's
Yeah.
not, it's happening everywhere. And I don't know if this is just my perception, but you tell me. A lot of through the COVID in 2020, a lot of the Californians came over to Arizona, and I don't know if it's true, but if they brought their ideology and their politics with them,
Yeah.
and it's infiltrating here in Arizona and changing things. I don't know. What do you say about that?
I think it already has been for years.
Okay.
I think it definitely, increased, I think how fast it's taking place.
Yeah.
And it's like, we can look at the coast and we can see what
Mm-hmm,
liberal progressive ideology and policy does.
Yeah.
It creates, poverty. It bankrupts societies. It destroys culture.
Mm-hmm.
It destroys families. And so now they're they're ironically trying to flee that, for refuge, for respite, to try to get out of it. And I think a lot of conservatives have come, but I will tell you, just because cost of living and debt, inflation, and people trying to escape some of the insane things that are going on, like basically robbing stores is legal up to X amount of dollars.
It's out of control.
It's chaos. It's anarchy.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what they want. Like, this isn't even about political control. I think that part of their strategy is just straight the Marxist playbook.
Oh,
They just want to create chaos and division. And because, once there's total disorder, that's when they can implement, full police state type of weird crap.
Okay,
Like they're going to come in and just implement much higher measures of control and or slowly remove freedoms, over time.
That's what I made a little joke the other day on the pod. Someone had mentioned aliens, and we were doing a live thing, and I said, how think about this: if the media is promoting something,
Oh yeah,
that they normally were against, there's a reason why.
Oh yeah,
And I said, if you look at what happened with in 2020 and how many freedoms they try to take away with fear.
oh yeah.
And then now they're bringing another fear tactic of aliens. Oh, yes, government, please protect me. Now that there's these beings out there, I'll give you more of my freedoms and more of, sanction everything and just protect me.
Yeah.
It's almost like they use all kinds of different things that will bring fear to people and use that to control and to take over.
100%. If it's not, fear is not the driving factor. Sometimes it's just about distraction.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's just like, hey, look over here. It's like anytime something's being promoted in mainstream media outlets, like you should be, if they're driving anything heavy, you should look elsewhere.
Yeah.
Right? Even with this thing in Israel right now, it's like I got people blowing me up and texting me, what do you think? What's going on? Is this it? Is this the end? I'm like, these types of conflicts have been happening in Israel for years and years and years.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I think we need to pay attention. And we
yeah.
need to be aware and discern the times. But I still feel like right now it's like Ukraine and Russia.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That war was literally within the same week that the CDC goes on their website and removes the pandemic and uploads all their new data about the real death tolls and all that stuff. Literally, all of a sudden, Russia goes to war with Ukraine in that same week. So now it's like, look over here. There's a worldwide catastrophe and war going on, and then all of a sudden, people just forgot about the total unconstitutional, illegal pandemic.
They're like, squirrel.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, we've just screwed you. We've shut down your churches, your businesses. We've ruined your families.
Yeah.
And people are bankrupt, and we're moving into hyperinflation, in my opinion. But now all of a sudden, war. Ugh.
Yeah.
So to me, and it is fear that usually becomes the thing, because that's what drives people's attention.
Yeah.
Oh no, what's going on? What's going on in Israel? I'm like, well, something's going on in Israel, but it's not a coincidence that all of a sudden the Iron Dome was down.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it's like we have to learn to discern the enemy's strategies. And again, when I say the enemy, our spiritual enemy,
Yeah.
but who is working in and through,
People,
people, right? So we can't. I will tell you this: in the past 3 years, the one thing I've learned through being engaged more politically is that the left is very good at creating distractions and reactions by the right.
Yeah.
So it's like they don't even. they don't need to do much more than get us to expend our energies and human resources and efforts on something that may sound or be important.
Yeah.
But it's like they want to keep us distracted and divided, and then we're not united, or we're not focused, and we're not being strategic. But they're good at getting people to react emotionally and move from one thing to the next. If you think about it, it's like, boom, something happens, and then all of a sudden, truther movements or alternative media outlets start to shed light onto it, and truth starts to come. Then all of a sudden, oh, boom, now look at this.
Yeah.
Now there's something else. It's just enough. And again, the algorithms, right? It's back to this, like, let's just keep them on this thread.
Yeah.
Keep them on this thread of fear. Keep them on this thread of, is the world going to end, or, what's happening in the economy. And then, and ironically, a lot of it is happening in the midst of distracting us. They're just, like you said, they're pulling freedoms.
Yeah.
Out from underneath our nose.
And one of the things that I think I went to a conference with Lance Wallnau. I don't know if you've heard.
I know Lance. I know who he is.
Oh, he awesome guy. And he was talking about the 7 mountains of influence and going into that. And I know that one of the mountains I wanted to continue to conquer is media and entertainment. And that's kind of like why we're doing what we're doing here.
Amen.
And but one of the things that he was saying was what you're saying is the distractions, and we have to stay focused. And one thing that makes, I think, Christians some of the most dangerous people in this system is that we believe in one God, and we are protected by him. And if we submit to him, then it doesn't matter what happens around us. We have a hope and a security that we won't bend or bow the knee to.
Yeah.
And if somebody will not bow the knee to just anything because they've already pled their allegiance to the Lord, they become a danger to the society.
Oh, 100%. The most dangerous thing to a society like this, or one that they're trying to move us towards, are spirit-filled believers that don't fear death.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because really, we're talking about fear being the motivation, but the ultimate fear is, oh man, I'm going to die. Not just how does it affect my family or my bottom line or my business or my school, but like, oh no, is the world going to end? Am I going to die? What's going to happen?
Yeah.
The fear of death. So when you have a believer, an abiding believer
who knows where they're going,
who's anchored in, it's like, I mean, for us doing what we're doing, like, we put ourselves really in the line of fire.
Yeah.
You know, because we're speaking out against the liberal unions, and we're kind of a little bit flying below the radar right now.
Yeah.
But once they really, view you as a threat, like, they don't mess around.
No.
Like, people just go missing, or threats start coming in, and like.
I mean, what's the name of your guys' school?
So it's Tipping Point Academy.
Okay.
So Tipping Point Academy, and it's a Christian conservative constitutional school.
That's awesome.
So when we opened, it was right in the middle of all the pandemic shutdowns, and we had these giant banners on the road that said, no fear, no closures, no masks. It was like, no masks, no closures, no fear.
Yeah.
And it was just like, I think it was like day 2 that, someone like had graffitied on them and tried to.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. It was, it was pretty bad, but the whole thing is that we were standing up and we were demonstrating our freedom, and we were demonstrating that we're going to operate in faith, not fear.
Yeah.
And
we had a musician the other day come on, Third Day the Mouthpiece, and he was saying they made shirts that said, you want me to respect your fear, respect my faith.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
And I was like, man, dude, I was like, you got to get me a shirt.
Yeah. Well, and man, that's true. And they didn't respect the people who didn't fear.
Yeah.
Right. And it was like, we didn't have any place. We were immediately labeled as, discompassionate, or we're murderers, or it was like the perfect trap.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's like, if you say nothing, you're not being compassionate.
Yeah.
And if you do nothing, or if you're not, complying, then, oh, well, you guys are
killing grandma. Like,
you're murderers.
Yeah.
It's like
there was no good way to look at that.
Yeah. And the church fell right into it.
Yeah.
That's what was most discouraging for me. And when I say the church, corporately, the Western church at large, I think fell for it hook, line, and sinker. And I think maybe there were a lot of pastors who just either straight apostate, at minimum soft or passive.
Yeah.
And they just kind of bowed that knee, because they are kind of beholden to their board or whatever it is, or they're worried, oh, this is my livelihood. And if I don't do the most politically savvy thing, that I might lose my position or my church.
Yeah. It's fear.
Fear.
Fear was creeping in.
That was it. But where's the faith that God would not provide,
Yeah. Yeah.
Even people shut down their businesses and stuff like that. It's like, hey, not standing up at their work, right? Like not saying, hey, I'm not going to wear a mask, or I'm not going to take the vaccine, or I'm not going to deal with this. People were like, oh no, I'm going to lose my job. This is, provides for my family.
Yeah.
It's like, well, where's your faith?
Yeah.
Right.
So,
like,
so talking about business, what is it that you guys created for business owners?
So, we created basically a conservative Christian business networking kind of, it's faith-based, right? So, ideally people who know Jesus and love Jesus. I mean, we seem to attract a lot of conservatives that almost kind of became semi-evangelical, like people that they believe in the message of freedom, but they don't know the freedom giver. You know what I'm saying? So it's like we were attracting people to this group and using it mainly just as camaraderie and encouragement, like gathering like-minded believers who aren't buying off on all this narrative and this hogwash. And we just wanted to get together, encourage one another, and start sharing resources and business with each other. Because it's like, hey, I want to share my business, my money, and I want to, patronize businesses that are, one, that are, tithing, two, that are, constitutional and pushing back on this.
Not just falling for the ESG scores and
oh my gosh,
and the Target, the Bud Lights,
that's real. Even Chick-fil-A went for that.
Oh,
man, they have a whole internal division that's like an inequality, whatever, that ESG stands for.
Yeah.
And, so but that's part of their grassroots strategy. They create these organizations that go and apply pressure, right? And man, it works, but we have to discern the enemy's tactics. And we have to say, no, I'm not, I'm a private business.
Yeah.
I can operate according to the value lines that I want to, operate. But unfortunately, they cave to that cancel culture pressure.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I'm going to lose. I'm telling you what, every business that we knew, that stood firm and stood up, those businesses, churches as well, they thrived as a result.
Yeah.
And if you look at just the church as an example, there was just only a handful, probably less than 20 churches in the valley that really unapologetically said, we're staying open, we're not playing this game. We're standing up, and all those churches are, they're up 200, 300, 400, 500%.
Yeah.
over the past couple years,
showing what faith can do through the storm.
And it attracted all of the, the non-passive believers, like the engaged, spirit-filled, faith-filled, not fear-based. So all the betas, it's almost like, man, now it's like all of, I don't call it the remnant. It's like, this whole thing was like, it just paved a way for God's people to really sift. We call it sifting and shifting, right? That COVID allowed a lot of things to be exposed.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of like-minded believers. I'm sitting here with you today.
Oh, yeah.
Because of what's happened. And, a good brother, mutual friend of ours, who introduced us.
Oh, Scott Strong.
What's up, Scott? Shitty shout out. It's mainly... I wouldn't have a relationship with him. And so I think all this has kind of brought me and my family and our community to find our peeps. It's like we found our tribe.
And that's important. You need that. Because if you're a lone wolf and you're out there by yourself, and then all of a sudden your only outlet is the news system that you're watching on television, and your only security is your job, then all of a sudden when something threatens those things and the threat comes from those things, it's like those people are so afraid that they'll do whatever is necessary to what they think to survive.
100%.
And instead of those who know the Lord, have their firm foundation, are built on the rock. It's like whatever happens, I'm okay. It's going
Yeah.
to be all right. We're going to be all right. We have a faith that sustains us through thick and thin,
And a tangible faith, right?
Tangible.
That's attached to a community.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
the opposite of community is isolation.
Yeah.
And if you think about
Yeah.
this whole strategy that's been employed over the past, 3.5, almost 4 years now, it was literally to get people isolated.
Yeah.
Go in your home, shut down your business, stay 6 feet apart, put a mask on, dehumanize. You know what I'm saying? Like it literally was attacking
Yeah.
community and isolating people. So you isolate so you can control. But what God's body does is it creates a community, like you said, a safe place, but not
Yeah.
but a place that you can lean on. So your business gets shut down, or you stand up in faith and lose your job
Yeah.
because you're not going to take the vax, or you're not going to bow the knee. And then we saw it within our group, this network of businesses. People are providing work for people, and
Yeah.
oh,
see,
you need a
that's-
job. Hey, I stood up. I'm not taking the vax. I lost my job. And then other people within our alliance and our network are providing people work, and
And that's the name of it, right? The Alliance.
it's called the Great State Alliance.
Okay.
So that's the parent nonprofit
Okay.
that kind of arose out of the 2020.
Okay.
We incorporated our nonprofit in.
And there's information that I can put in the description for
Yeah, I
people.
can give you the website. So it's greatstatealliance.com.
Okay.
And so that's our faith-based political initiative. And then out of that, there's a few different initiatives. One of them is the educational initiative that the school kind of came out of.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And so right now we're spending most of our time and resources, because we feel like that's the most effective long-term strategy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like the short game needs to be played. We need to be active in politics. We need to be voting. We need to be trying to represent good
Yeah.
quality candidates and make sure we're voting for the right people, and
Yeah.
engage in our legislative districts and whatever, becoming precinct committeemen.
We need to get involved.
We have to be involved. Like that's kind of been our message too for the past few years. Is like stop talking, start walking. Like you can complain on social media, you can have all these great criticisms, but
Yeah.
what the heck are you doing about it?
Yeah.
Right? Because that's part of the problem is they're getting us trapped in the algorithm. Just talking about it.
Yeah.
If we can just be banter, talking back and forth, and social media, then we're just that becomes the new opiate. We're just kind of entranced, right? You talked about the
Yeah.
spell. The sorcery of that is like now people are just, they see it, but they're not doing anything.
See, that's why I'm glad that you're here on the show. So that way we can get those who are watching that are interested connected to the school,
Yeah.
and then connected with the Great State Alliance. So that way they can stay involved with what they can actually do and be a part of,
Yeah, it'd be amazing if you guys want to help us in any way. Just check out the website. One, pray for us. Like we're we're under constant attack, inside, outside. It's like it can become
Yeah.
overwhelming. So just pray for myself, my family, our core leadership team, our staff, our teachers, our directors of the Great State Alliance.
Yeah.
We just need prayer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then second, like if you're passionate about the school, thing and the education system, reforming the education system, reach out to us. We have a lot of different opportunities to volunteer and things that you guys can do to help. The school, of course, it's a new school, so we could always use funding and donations. If there are people out there that have
Yeah.
a real specific passion for what we're doing, which is a real strategic kind of game plan.
Yeah.
Just reach out to us and we can,
And how can they donate or get involved with that financially?
either of the websites you can go right to. And
Okay.
there's a give tab on both of those websites.
Awesome.
So yeah, you can give right there, and we like ongoing support. Like big donations are great, but we want to sustain and plot and be part of
Yeah.
the long battle. So it's like, hey, just look at it like almost like a tithe or something like that. It's like,
Yeah,
hey, I want to
yeah.
support you guys $50 a month or $100 a month, something like
Yeah.
that. Like that that helps us to sustain.
That's awesome.
So, and my wife and I were, we shut our business down. It's been almost a year now that we finally shut it down.
Oh, what was your business?
So we were general contractors
Oh,
and
okay, okay.
designers.
Oh, okay.
So financially speaking, we've been living on our kind of financial reserves, and we still to date have not paid ourselves or taken any money from the nonprofit,
Yeah.
which is amazing. It's like the story of like the oil in the lamp.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know how it's happening, but God is
Yeah.
good, and our goal is to continue to invest as much as we can into this.
That's awesome.
And try to leave as much on the table as possible. But we are at the spot now where the school has got a good enrollment, to where it's starting to sustain financially. But the current need for us is we need some improvements done on the campus.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So any money that we do raise is going to go all towards just continuing to develop the campus and making it a better place for the kids to be there and grow.
And where are you guys located?
So we're right on the seam of Scottsdale, Paradise Valley, and Northeast Phoenix by the kind of the PV Mall area.
Okay, yeah.
So it's Tatum and Thunderbird. We're right at about 54th and Thunderbird. So we're literally just due east of here.
Okay.
We're on the opposite side of town. It's a great location, and maybe for another podcast, I'll share with you the miracle story of how we got that campus.
Oh yeah, would love to hear.
Yeah,
would love to hear.
That God is working, and he's kind of given us that property to steward. It's old church property, and actually we're looking, in a few different parts of the valley, and over the next 24 to 36 months.
Oh man,
our goal is to already start expansion into other parts of the valley.
Are you guys going to be just to know for the future? Are you guys doing anything in surprise?
Well, it's funny you say that because that's probably our first move would probably be to the northwest.
Oh man, because we bought a piece of property in Surprise off of Deer Valley in the 303.
Nice.
And that sounds like something that we would, and my wife and I do want to have more kids.
Sure.
And so we don't want them in the public school system. So
yeah.
So it'd be great to get them connected with this.
Well, that's our goal. So pray for us. We want to get the first one right.
Yeah.
Get it done, get it up and running, which we're real close to kind of having our proof of concept completed, But actually I've been dialoguing with our mutual friend Scott.
Yeah.
And he's he really is all about what we're doing, and if he didn't live almost 45 minutes to an hour away, his kid would be at our school.
Yeah.
But he's one of the ones I've been dialoguing about.
That's awesome.
About putting a school over here.
Yeah.
So we have a good following over here. We know there's a lot of patriot-minded Christians who are like, I don't want none of that anymore.
Yeah.
So keep an eye out. If like an old church or a good property or or an old school going out of business, a private school or something like that. But those properties are becoming pretty hard
to find
right now.
Oh, okay.
So, but yeah, we're praying, and we have a vision. We feel like God has told us that this is going to be more than one school.
Yeah, no, that's going to be good.
Yeah,
it's going to be good.
I'm excited.
Well, thank you for coming on the podcast today and sharing this.
Pleasure.
We'd have to get you back on. I'd love to get you back on
anytime, man.
And I want to thank you guys for watching today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification button so you know when the next video drops, and go ahead and leave a comment down below and let us know what you enjoyed about today. And don't forget to go into the description and check out the links that I'll have for Jeremy Wood's school and for the Great State Alliance.
Awesome. Yeah, and Tipping Point Academy.
Oh, Tipping Point Academy.
Yep. Awesome.
All right. Thank you, guys. We love you. God loves you. And God bless.
God bless.